everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Bells. If you are new here, welcome. In honor of my fantasy unicorn cartoon character hair, I'm going to be sharing with you my 5 favorite fantasy books of all time. They are pretty much perfect books in my opinion. So strap in, it's going to be an awesome video. I'm super excited to talk about all of these. If you are new here and you like this content or want to see more book related content, don't forget to hit that little subscribe button. And I would also love to hear about everyone else's absolute favorite fantasy books of all time. Let's make this comment section full of fantasy recommendations. So let's do it all together, okay? Let's bring on the bugs. Okay, so the book we're gonna start with is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This book is everything I've ever wanted in a fantasy book. It is, first of all, super diverse, LGBTQ plus friendly, written by a woman of color, which we love, and we have a lot of really cool South American culture that's kind of inputted into this one. The story, it's a fantasy, right? So it's kind of hard to be like, okay, so here's this like super wide-reaching world and its story. Basically what's going on is there's a winter solstice, and it's going to coincide with a solar eclipse. And so one of our main characters that we follow is the Sun Priest, and she basically says that this is a moment of unbalancing. So their world is about to be shaken in some way, shape, or form. Then our second character that we're following is Ciala. Don't know how you say her name. She is a captain who's essentially like this world's version of a mermaid, and she is carrying a passenger who is the third character that we're following. Serapio is blind and scarred and is essentially the bringer of a prophecy, and his entire life he's been prepared to be this prophetic creature. There's a lot of conversations about classism and stereotyping. There's definitely some motifs in here for racism as well. This book is freaking tastic. The world building is spot on and is so detailed and gorgeous and lush. Rebecca Roanhorse's discussion of color particularly is so beautiful. The characters are all really lovable. They're all morally gray area characters. It's not like a Lord of the Rings like good versus evil fight. It's a more real look at how the world actually functions. You know what I mean? Everyone has bad, everyone has good. Yin and yang, baby. I just remember when I read this, like wholly, truly caring about the characters. I'm just looking at my review that I wrote when I did read this. What I said is that it's written like a historical fiction, and that which I mean, it's that magical story, but it's grounded in reality. And I just think it's such a masterful piece of fantasy work. I think it's so difficult to do that when you are writing about magic. The magic system itself is super expansive and incredibly specific. It's a little more complex than I would say like Brandon Sanderson's magic systems are, but she's so incredibly detailed about how every person applies it that you never feel confused while you're reading this book. The diversity is really nice. The culture is very rich and full. I say Brandon Sanderson again, we're gonna obviously talk about Brandon Sanderson in this video, but his political systems are super well fleshed out, and he spends a lot of time making sure that we understand how his political systems function. Similar to like Game of Thrones and Dune too, like we spend a lot of time figuring out why the events are happening because of the politics, whereas the politics in this book we experience through the characters. So rather than Rebecca using exposition and like clever ways of telling us how the politics function, we just get to experience it for ourselves. And the twist of the book, there is a twist in this book, and it's wild, and you're gonna love it. The ending of this book is a cliffhanger so egregious, so rude, that I read it and I literally yelled at the book, "What?" Because I could not imagine ending a book like this. So beware of the ending, because you're gonna want to read more, and there isn't any more to read right now, so it better be coming out soon. If you're looking for like a female-centric fantasy with like really beautiful flawed characters, this is it. It is gorgeously done. I cannot praise this book enough. So we'll move on then. Okay, so the next book, I'm not going to talk about this for too long because I've talked about this in every single fucking video because I cannot talk about this book enough, and it is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. I'll give you a quick rundown of the story. Basically, there's two magical princesses. The oldest one has been brought up to become the wife of the God King, and instead, because of many political reasons, her younger sister is sent into the capital city to be the wife of the God King, and then Vivenna, who is the oldest sister, kind of follows her to go and protect her because she's worried that her younger sister is basically going to be killed for not being prepared. I relate so much to Vivenna as a person. She is all anxiety and all perfectionism, and that's me. Vivenna basically follows her, winds up hanging out with some thieves. We also get to experience the political system through a series of minor gods who all hang out in the court of the God King. Man, this book will make you cry, it'll make you laugh. It's a romance, and the romance is so sweet and so wholesome. The magic system, it's Brandon Sanderson, so it's written really well. It's not complicated. It's easy to get into, easy to enjoy. The politics of this world are so spicy. I love our minor gods. I love Lightsong. He is the best. He is my favorite. You really truly have a deep care for these characters as well. Again, female-centric, which we love, and strong female-centric, and flawed female-centric, and shows growth and morality and lies and so many beautiful things. I do have a minor content warning for this one. There is a little bit of animal abuse. There's not a lot. It's not graphic in any way, but it is there, and it's pretty upsetting. So that's just something to think about with this one. This is my favorite book of all time. I love this book with every part of my being, and every single person I've ever recommended this to, it's now in their top 5 favorite books too. Just go read it. Just go do yourself a favor and sit down and read this lovely book about magic and colors and princesses and overthrowing the government and civil war and gods and lies and classism. Just do it. Just please. Here, you can have my copy. I can only talk about that for so long. And so instead of continuing to talk about Warbreaker, we're going to talk about Mistborn, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson as well. You knew what you were signing up for. This man is so good at writing. It's just not fair. Again, super accessible. This is actually one where I think it's a great transition novel between young adult and adult. So if you're a little bit younger and you're looking for a way to transition into adult themes but still want it to be kind of appropriate and easily readable, this is absolutely a book I would recommend. It's of course a fantasy, different magic system than in Warbreaker. The magic system is all focused around metals, and Mistborn are very, very rare people who have control over all of the metals. Of course, our two main characters are Mistborn. We follow a young girl, Vin, who's a thief and kind of gets roped into helping our other main character, Kelsier, take down the government. It's almost like Brandon Sanderson has a lot to say about the government. This book is about classism. This book is about colonialism. I mentioned this in my video about Dune in my readathon, and Mistborn is structured a lot like Dune in that the discussion around colonialism and the white male savior trope, both of those books are very specific that they are kind of attacking the white male savior trope, and I think it's really lovely to read. Again, also female-centered. We love to see it. Brandon Sanderson is wonderful. If you are looking for a fantasy book and you don't really know what your vibe is, or if you're new to fantasy, oh my god, go any of his books. Start with the number ones. Obviously, don't start with number 6 in a series, but any of them are gonna be a good bet because he has successfully made fantasy super, super accessible, and I just love it. I just love the way that he writes. The next book I want to talk about is The Solitaire Mystery by Justine Garter. This is a really interesting book. This is my partner's favorite book. It's about a little boy, he's 12, and his dad, and they're basically going on this trip to go and try to find their mom. At the same time, Hans Thomas finds the Sticky Bun book. It's a book within a book, which is really fun. Here's an actual description of what is going on. So Hans Thomas and his father set out on a car trip through Europe from Norway to Greece, which is the birthplace of philosophy, in search of Hans Thomas's mother, who left them many years earlier. On the way, Hans Thomas receives a mysterious miniature book, the fantastic memoir of a sailor shipwrecked in 1842 on a strange island where a deck of cards come to life. The solitaire mystery weaves together fantasy and reality, fairy tales, and family history. It's kind of a coming of age story. It's kind of a reconnection with your dad. Cute story. This book is so fun and unique. All of the different suits of cards have different personalities. If you're looking for something that's like a little bit different than fantasy and magic and dragons and like, you know, what you see in a lot of fantasy books, I think this is such a good choice. It's an easy read. It's a young adult novel. It's just such a unique and like special experience. It's like a beginner's guide to philosophy almost. So if you want to just like sit and think about the world and watch this like little boy think about the world and talk about it with his dad, it's a really wholesome book. I don't really know how else to sell it to you, honestly. It was just such a unique and lovely experience. I mean, it's on my bookshelf, and you know what we say about books that are on my bookshelf is that they are pretty much all 5-star books. So yay. The last book we're going to talk about is a book I've talked about again before, and it's hard for me not to talk about these books because I do love them. This might be my favorite read of the year still. I don't know, I've been reading some good things in December, so maybe not. But The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow is phenomenal. This book is the story of women's suffrage in America, but in a parallel universe where women are witches. Men are also witches in this world, but specifically women are oppressed because they are witches. Here's the description for you. In 1893, there's no such thing as witches. There used to be in the wild, dark days before the burnings began, but now witching is nothing but tidy charms and nursery rhymes. If the modern woman wants any measure of power, she must find it at the ballot box. So this is the story, right, of women getting the right to vote. Alex E. Harrow does this wonderful thing where she weaves these historical, like actual historical events through this story and just tells them in a different way. But the events are real and happened and had serious impacts. And I just think it's so incredible the way that she put history and magic together. It's just like truly a wonderful feat of writing. So we're following the 3 Eastwood sisters, James, Agnes, and Beatrice. And so they join the suffragists of New Salem and begin to pursue the forgotten words and ways that might turn the women's movement into the witches' movement. The tagline is, "There's no such thing as witches, but there will be." Bum, bum, bum. This has such a special place in my heart because I have a younger sister, and a lot of the fights and relationships in here really reminded me of my own relationship with my sister. So I think that might be one reason why it's still in my top 5, but I love witchy things. Give me witchiness all day long. I'm a happy lady. I think if you're looking for something witchy, if you're looking for something historical, and if you're looking for something so supremely magical and dark and dangerous, and again, female forward, woo! I can't say enough about this. Alex E. Harrow has such a beautiful way with words. She's so incredibly whimsical in how she describes things, how the world looks, and she's so specific when it comes to her characters and her characters' magic. If you're looking for something like witchy, but also like your feminist read for the year, this is it. I found it for you. Oh man, they're all so good. I would read all of them again in a heartbeat. I like literally just finished Mistborn and I would read it again, like right now. If that tells you anything, they're very good. I would love to hear your favorite fantasy book recommendations. If you've read any of these or if you have other recommendations that you would want to share with everyone, put them in the comments, please. So if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed these recommendations, hit that little like button, hit the subscribe button for more book-related content and for more fun hair colors. I just love it, guys. I feel like a little fairy. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out. Check out my Instagram if you haven't already. I put up little mini vlogs of whatever I'm reading at the time, so that's always very fun. And I will see you all in the next video.